everyone. This is Lori McIntosh with Coldwell Banker Realty here in Auburn, California. And I'm so lucky today. I'm with two ghosts from the Ghost Tours of Auburn, California that happens every October right before Halloween. And their real names are Joey and Angeline. And I really wanted to find out why you two are wanting to be a part of this program and how you both are actors together as a husband and wife. And let's start with that. Describe what you do for the show.
Before the show.
For the show.
Oh, for the show. Hi. Well, basically, we portray two actual persons that actually lived in Auburn at one time and have quite a bit of boasting rights as far as having being part of Auburn's history. Is basically it in a nutshell.
Yeah, and so it looks like you're a sheriff.
Yes.
I've seen you twice. I've come here 2 times past couple of years as a docent with my husband, and we've heard you speak out in the graveyard, right on the courthouse yard, right?
Yes.
Okay, so what happened to you as a sheriff? Let's just go with that for right now.
Oh, okay. The character that I portray, his name was Sheriff John Boggs, and he was part of law enforcement in this town from the very beginning, from 1853 all the way up to 1883. He was involved in law enforcement.
Okay, and was he murdered?
He was not. In fact, not only was he not murdered, in all his 30 years, he was never shot or anything. He missed being injured in any way, yet people all around him were actually shot and injured, and yet he spent his whole career unscathed.
Wow, so he's kind of like the last man standing.
Yes. He was also a no-nonsense sheriff, though. He was known as the toughest, most fearless, and most dedicated lawman in all these parts, anybody in the county.
Okay,
he had quite the reputation.
Sounds like Auburn was pretty lucky to have him.
I think they were.
Okay. And so Joey, did your wife convince you to be a ghost by chance, or did you decide to do this on your own?
No, she absolutely, first she took me on the tour, and I wasn't quite sure what to expect. And then the year went by, and she says, would you be interested in participating in the ghost tour? And I said, you mean like setting up or taking down or picking up trash or something? And she said, no, actually being one of the ghosts.
And you said, you betcha.
I said, absolutely. So we immediately started researching different characters because you have to write your own script.
Okay. That's good to know. I had no idea. And then you figure out what you want to say. And
yes.
And then there's a board that agrees on it.
Yes, actually, in a way, yes.
Okay. So, Mary, tell us about your character, and you look like you have some sort of disease. Oh, and Mary is your ghost name, right?
Correct.
So I just changed it.
Yes, I was like, oh, okay.
This is Angeline.
So I'm Mary Weber. I'm Adolph Weber's mom.
Oh my gosh. Mm-hmm. Okay, I know Adolph Weber. He was a 20-year-old bank robber, right?
And
murdered his
entire family.
He burned down their house.
Yep.
So so this is a new character for you?
She's a new character for me.
Okay.
Previously I was Addie Stevens, and she owned the home where the stairs to nowhere go across from the annex, which used to be Tesuta's.
Okay.
So her home was there, and she's a very active spirit right now, and so I had a passion for her for the past couple of years, but after last year I just thought there was not enough representation. People were leaving believing that Adolph was actually innocent, and I'm like, no, even though he was hung for his crimes. But I'm like, no, I want to be his mom. So it took a little bit, but this is the first time that Mary has appeared in the ghost tour, and I think she's going to be around for a while.
Oh my gosh. So I'm not a docent this year, and now I'm like got chills because I'm missing out on Mary. I'm gonna have to come next year. So this means that if you guys have come to the ghost tour in the past, you have to keep coming because you don't know what new ghosts you might be meeting and the locations around Old Town that they'll be located, right? They
Correct.
can change too.
Yep.
Correct.
Okay, so Angeline, I know Joey grew up in Auburn, came here as a youngster, and then lived here your whole life. Obviously you love it because you're still here. How about you?
My family moved here when I was 8, so we've been here since '79. So my whole life.
Both of you have been here since the 70s.
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah. So tell us how you both met.
Oh boy.
Who wants to go with that one?
No.
Well, that's a me story.
Okay, please.
So Joey worked at Lucky, which is now Save Mart, and he worked at Lucky, and it was probably 83, 84-ish. And he's a couple of years older than I am. However, I had the biggest crush on him. He was the cutest courtesy clerk, and this 12-year-old girl had this crush on this older gentleman, this older boy. And anyway, so any chance I could to get my parents, we grew up by the naked statues on Auburn Ravine on Mickelson. So any chance I could get my parents to take me to the grocery store, take me to Lucky. We could walk, we could ride our bikes, anything to see if he was working. And eventually he was taking me to church on Wednesdays. And then I think my parents thought, oh, she likes him a little too much. So they kind of started to pull that back. And then life took him through a wedding that I was at. And then things happened there. And then he was going to be my prom date in 1989. And I made the decision that I was going to leave high school. So the hardest thing I had to do was tell him that we weren't going to prom. And then we just kind of parted ways after that. And then
30 years later?
Yeah, life brought me back to thank him for something he had done for me back as a teenager. And then here we are.
Are you kidding? That's quite a story. So you've known him since you were 12 and you were 14. Obviously, you said a couple years older.
I was 18. I was working.
Okay, 7.
I was working. I was 18.
Hey, I'm married to a man that's 7 years younger. So
see, that's awesome.
That's great. That is really cool. Now you're back together, and
it's been over 6 years now.
Yep.
Okay, so you've been married for a while, and back to being a ghost.
Yes.
I don't want to go back and forth, but I want to find out how obviously you talked him into it. What made you interested in doing this?
So I have always had a huge paranormal passion, if you will. And so when I heard that this was happening in town, I have 3 grown sons. And so we had come a few times and I thought we'd test the waters here because see if he liked it. And I met Mel and I said, hey, if you ever need help, let me know. And she said, well, actually we have a couple openings. We could use a person. And actually the first year we started, Joey and I shared a space. I was Addie and he was
that's right.
Charles Simmons. And so we shared the space where Addie's house was, and it was great. And then people shifted and left, and then he got his own space, and then I had my own space. But it's pretty remarkable to tell the story because these people have stories. And in Addie's case, let's say, even in Mary's case, she had a huge story to tell about her son with what she endured with him, and it was still her son. And even in Addie Stevens' case, people still think that they see her in her space. I mean, that was her home, and I don't think she knows she's dead. But Mary had quite a cross with her child. She had Adolf, and then she had a daughter, and then she had her youngest son who was crippled. So, and they could look over the whole town where their house was and see everything happening. And, she lived next door to her sister who had quite a life with her children. So, Mary had quite an interesting life. She was huge mark on this town.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and then she got burned by her son.
She was shot first, and then he lit the house on fire.
And the nicest thing about it, this is the 7th year, I believe, for the Gold Country Ghost Tours. But this is the first year that there's been anybody else representing Adolf Weber, and it's actually his mother's side of the story.
Right.
So folks this year really get a treat on hearing like, wow, he didn't sound like that. He did a really good job of acting like he was innocent. So it's really a nice treat this year.
Right? Yeah, that is a big treat. I'm excited for you both.
You got to come listen. You should. You need to at least come hear ours. Yeah,
I know. Is tonight the last night?
Tonight's the last night.
So it's October 28th, 2023. So we'll might have to sneak back over and see what I can do, pull some strings.
Yep.
And see, because Joey and I happen to be in Leadership Auburn, and this week we actually got a tour of all the museums and got to check out the history with one of the docents who had some intensive training. She only gives 8 to 10 hours a month of her time. And then most of them are seniors, and we learned more about Adolph Weber. Plus, Nicole Burns is in charge of all the costumes. Is that right? I forgot what her position is.
Set design.
Set design. So she knows about everybody. And that big white house up on the hill behind the Mexican restaurant,
Yes.
Tio Pepe.
That was Mary Weber's sister, the Snowden house.
Yeah, and so the Snowden house got the whole view, and then Mary Weber's house was
just a little farther over.
Okay.
200 feet.
Okay.
200 feet.
Okay, that's
away.
really cool.
Yeah.
So this is just kind of like continuous as years go by. With if you're going to continue it or switch to something else, as long as you're around, you're here for the long haul.
Oh,
you
yeah.
enjoy
I
it.
agree. Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
You're pretty dedicated, and
It's fun. It's a lot of fun.
sounds a lot of fun, and get to see everybody's faces and look at all the kids staring at you.
Yeah.
And even the adults, and in a lot of mine last week, I got a lot of gasps and as soon as I'd introduce myself and say who my son was, they go, so this town is so rich in history, and this ghost tour is so huge that when tickets go on sale in September, they sell out literally within 30 minutes. And we're selling this year, we sold 1,000 tickets.
Wow.
Because we have 4 shows and we hit about 250 each. So that's 1,000 people. And there are so many people who are first timers, some who are lucky to get tickets again. But there are so many people who said, I've tried 4 years in a row now and I can't get tickets.
Really?
And it's, you can line up at the visitor center.
Mm-hmm.
You can even do it online, but it's just such a high demand event that it just goes so fast.
Yeah. And Lisa, with the exception of our makeup, every dime goes to a charity.
Yes.
Every dime.
Yep.
And a charity,
A local charity in Auburn.
Auburn.
A local charity that
of our
choice.
So those
Yeah.
of you that visit, we really appreciate it because we do have a lot of charities and a lot of people here who are in need. And I really appreciate that you guys have so much passion about this. It's really
great.
cool. And what else happens here is families will come from out of town and locals, and they'll go out to eat, and they'll go out to maybe a bar afterwards, and maybe they'll see a ghost in a bar like the California Bar or the Auburn Ale House, right?
Yep.
Right.
That would be fun. So we really appreciate your business and coming here because obviously all towns need it.
Yep.
But anything that you guys can share about Auburn and why you love it so much and that you live here?
Laura, that's a big question.
I know.
Having been here since the 70s, I saw Auburn before it really changed. And I know everybody says that when they get here, but I have seen it change a lot. I didn't really appreciate it as a youngster and as I was growing up. And then as I got a little bit older, I realized, wow, this is a fantastic town. It's got a lot of great people and a lot of great things to see. And I mean, today I learned just last week that it has 8 museums.
Right.
I did not know
I didn't know that either.
Yes.
And they're all free.
Yes, they're
right?
they're all free.
That's awesome.
That is awesome. Yeah.
It's just always been home for me. I mean, I didn't move away and go to college, where I raised my boys, and just this is home. I can't imagine being anywhere else. It has changed definitely over the years as well, but you just go, okay, it's home. Like, it's still Auburn. You can still go anywhere and run into at least 5 people that you know, and
yeah.
it's just home.
It is a town that you can't change too much because of topography, as we are in the
Yes.
foothills.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah, and I will say I'm dressed in my horse clothes because I did go riding earlier today, and that's why we live here, is for the horse trails and for Tevis, and contributing to having our horses being able to live at home with us and having the space that they need. So unfortunately, we kind of got pushed out of the Bay Area, and we always wanted to retire here, but we just came 20 years early because got pushed out a little sooner than we planned, and that's okay because now I don't have to be 75 years old making new friends.
Right.
I can be in my 50s making new friends and be more active, and hopefully I think it's going to work out for us because we're so lucky to live here.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you guys, I'm going to let you get to work, get to your show. And again, I'm Lori with Coldwell Banker. And if you guys need any help with your homes, you want me to help you, because I am a rural equestrian home expert, know all about wells and septics. I'm happy to help you out. And that's it.
Awesome.
Thanks again, guys.
Thank
Good evening,
you.
folks.
Thank you.
Thank you.